Hi, everyone. My name is Joel Maldonado. I'm a retired Border Patrol agent after 28 years, and I'm excited to be on the Gil Massa show. And you know why I'm on? Because rumor has it that he's going soft. So that we can't have that happening. Anyway, we'll be discussing my book, the best-selling The Binding Oath, which you can find it now on Amazon or anywhere on the internet. But anyway, join us for an exciting and riveting episode.
Greetings and welcome to the Old Patrol HQ podcast. I'm your host, Gil Maza. Today we have retired Supervisory Border Patrol Agent Joel Maldonado, Class 289, out of El Paso and Del Rio sector. Joel has written a book called The Binding Oath, A Border Patrol Journey and the Mayorkas Effect. This is a truly excellent read that not only walks us through the life of a Border Patrol agent, but you'll understand this entire border crisis historically from the inside out. Now, he says he was inspired by Old Patrol HQ social media. What could possibly go wrong? Come take a listen. Good afternoon, Joel, and welcome to the Old Patrol HQ podcast.
Oh, man, it's great to be on with you, my man. As you know, I think of you as the voice of reason under these circumstances of voices of treason. So, man, it's my honor to be here with you, man.
Well, I appreciate that voice of reason and the voices of treason. You know, that I love that. That's perfect. And I am happy to make your dreams come true, brother. You know, speaking as fellow agents, right? You were in class 289.
That's correct.
Right. Mm-hmm. Out of Glencoe Rock Stars.
That's right.
And I wasn't far ahead behind you in class 313, just a few, I guess maybe a year, half a year or a year after you. I'm not sure how that, remember how much that is, but we have spent a lot of time at the same time in the Border Patrol. You went off where did you report to first?
At the Sleda Station.
Station, right? El Paso sector. Mm-hmm. And I reported to El Cajon Station in San Diego sector, which I stayed there for 22 years before I moved off to San Clemente to get my high 3. Yeah. And then before I retired.
That's the Border Patrol's best kept secret.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things that I love to do on this podcast and in my social media, brother, is to honor and promote Border Patrol agents that write books. Right. Mm-hmm. I used to think Border Patrol agents were like Marines, right? They everything was in crayon, or, we actually are smart enough to write a book. But you, my friend, you have taken an approach to this that is so unique and so intense. I was telling you earlier that I had read through, I read the book, but that I know that I'm going to have to reread the last few chapters from chapter 12 on over, because you lay it out so well what the problem is. And I guess the biggest takeaway from this is, brother, that it's worse than we think.
Well, absolutely. Well, that was my purpose in writing this, is like I wanted to I wish I could tell you that I wrote this for Border Patrol agents, but we know. So why in the heck would I be doing that? Yeah. So I wanted to write it for like the soccer moms out there, the ranchers out there, just the average Americans, people that are politically engaged but don't know the whole story. Mm-hmm. And they need to know the truth. Now, I also wish I could tell you that I wrote it to be a voice for Border Patrol agents, but selfishly, to tell you the truth, my wife told me, "Hey, Joel, look, if you don't write a book, this is going to haunt you into retirement." And you have to. And I had all these things in my head. I had to, I had to write it. It was very therapeutic to write this, but after I wrote it and read it several times, I thought to myself, wow. And then when agents are reading it and texting me almost daily saying, "Hey, man, I'm glad you said that," or "I'm glad you're saying this," or "Man, that was great that you said that." So if I ended up being a voice for Border Patrol agents, then I'm happy. But please understand that this is for anybody out there that wants to read it and educate themselves as to the treason that's going on out there.
Well, one of the things that I found the most interesting is your approach. You and Charles Dickens have something in common, don't you?
Well, yeah, I think you're putting a finger on it. I think you know what. Yeah, I think you know what I was meaning to do here.
Yeah, because what is Charles Dickens takes Ebenezer Scrooge and walks him through his life to show him the effect and the results of his actions and what they did to other people. You decided to take Alejandro Mayorkas through a reclamation walk and walk him through the life and times of a Border Patrol agent, in particular, you, which your experiences, even within the Border Patrol, right? Your experiences are still, you can see it's so unique, the things that you've been able to do and accomplish. And man, walking with you through the academy again, man, I got the chills and I got the excitement and I got the adrenaline pump. And but you decided that you were going to walk Alejandro Mayorkas through the life of a Border Patrol agent. Tell us about that.
Well, if I would have written about just my experiences and things like that, I would have felt like, oh, this guy is just showing off or this and that. But no, look, my stories, although unique, many people can relate. I said, oh, I did that, or that happened to me, and they have their own versions, and so that's what I wanted people to resonate. Agents can definitely resonate with this. They can understand that. Oh yeah. Oh, I knew a guy who did that, or this and that. And so, but as far as Mayorkas, here's what inspired me. All you have to do is read the prologue of my book. Read the prologue, and you know where I'm going to go with it. Because I was mad. And you probably experienced it too. When it was time to retire, you had to write a memo to yourself, congratulating yourself. You know why? You know why? Because the powers that be are so lazy and they don't care about you and your journey, that they want you to write yourself a congratulatory memo saying, here's what I did, here's what stations I went to, and here's and congratulations on your long. You're writing that. They're signing off on it.
Yes, yes.
And
I have a congratulatory letter on my wall right now from DC for the 2 years I spent in DC that I got to write myself. And I tell you, man, God bless me for the fine work I did in DC. You know, but that's so funny, right? Because we write the memos and someone else signs off on it, so there's no, like,
they don't care about your journey. So that's why I said from the very beginning of the prologue, listen to me, Mayorkas, and you listen to me, Raul Ortiz. You didn't want me, and in fact, when I wrote it, they told me to cut it down to one page. So what part of my life do I cut? What part of my career do I cut? So I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book, and now you have to read a whole darn book. You know, you're going to have to read that. And so that was what inspired the book, is the fact that many agents would laugh at that the fact that you have to write your own congratulatory memo. I said, well, now you know what, Mayorkas, since you apparently are just single-handedly destroying the Border Patrol traditions, the honor, the everything about the Border Patrol, you should at least learn why it's important to us, why it is important, why we feel the way we do, why we don't support you in your policies. It's important that you understand what we've been through.
But Joel, the worst part is you have to explain it to a man that, and we're going to, talk a little bit more about this, and you got this guy pegged solid, but the man has made a career of flouting the U.S. immigration laws. He's made it a career of hating the patrol, so much so that he even allowed the cold-blooded killers of the agents that are named after our highest award to go free, right? To be paroled. And not only that, then decided years later he gets to wear their patch and wear their jacket with our patch on it, their patch on it. And he brings such shame and dishonor to our agency, even before he opens his mouth, even before he implements his, putrid policies. He is already a bad taste in our mouth.
Yes, and he does it. I think he does that on purpose. To tell you the truth.
Absolutely. Oh,
He knows how to not only stick the dagger in, but twist it. And
yes. And
he's
smile.
yes, he's a wicked man. Well, now that you mentioned that part that I put in there on the leadership part, where I talk about how he's an activist. Let's face it, he's an
Yes.
immigrant activist. So what in the hell is an immigration activist doing running the DHS? What is he doing running the agency that is charged with deporting people?
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to end well, as you know. And
Well,
and
he's
and
the
now,
perfect weapon, isn't he? He is the perfect weapon. Let's face it. He has been training his entire life for this moment. And this administration wouldn't know its ass from a hole in the wall. And the president is just weekend at Bernie's, weekend at Biden's. See, the guy is just a puppet being propped up. But all they had to say was, Mr. Mayorkas, we want an open border. And this man knew how to perfectly, meticulously, and completely dismantle our entire immigration system. And it has been dismantled.
well, and I'll go further than that. He's exactly what you just described. However, he's going so far that he can take agents, good agents that
Oh,
you and I have known, and they are carrying his banner. How is it that I knew Raul Ortiz, man, before he became chief, and now he became a true lapdog of this administration. Um, I don't even want to get into the this recent interview that Chief Owens, because I hold that man in high esteem, and
we
I,
all do. Yeah,
I
we're all kind of holding our breath, and I'm wondering, how we're going to approach that too, in a sense. And the thing about it is, even Chief Rodney Scott has said many times, this Mayorkas has a Jedi mind trick way of convincing the people around him that he cares, that he knows what they need to do. I mean, when the union president, which, some of us aren't surprised about Brandon Judd, the
right,
man is it wants to be he wants to be a politician. He wants to be a commentator on Fox News. He wants his trustee spot in all these NGOs that are making millions of dollars off the American taxpayers. He wants all that. We all know that. Fine. But now he comes out openly and says that Alejandro Mayorkas knows exactly what needs to be done, but but he is fighting this administration. It's this administration keeping him from doing that. How does this man get the endorsement, Joel, of the Border Patrol Union?
well, like you said, Jedi mind tricks, I guess, but more importantly is like people forget their oath.
Mm.
That's why it always comes down to the oath that we took, and that has to be sacred to us. Listen, you're a man of faith, right? And just
Yes.
like we're men of faith, and if you, when you take an oath, when we took the oath, that was a binding oath between you and God Himself, man. That you're
Forever.
that you're going to uphold the Constitution of the United States, man. And if that means nothing to you, then you are nothing. Your
Yes.
word means nothing. Your
Yes.
means nothing. You are nothing. And so even if you're not a man of faith, your words got to mean something, right?
Yeah.
So every agent that took that oath, man, they have to uphold the Constitution, man. And look, we're a constitutional republic. So all laws are derived and especially the INA, whether you like it or not, whether
Yep.
you're a libtard or not, you have to understand that the laws are derived from the U.S. Constitution. And so we're a nation of laws, are we not? Last time I checked, we're still a nation of
Supposedly.
laws. Well, if we're a nation of laws, then we have to implement those laws. And since when does policy usurp law? And that's what this administration is, an administration of policies. And all these lawless policies that Mayorkas is enforcing and taking precedence is beyond me. Why anybody would After a while, agents are going to have to stand up and say, that's an unlawful order. I'm sorry, sir, but opening that gate and letting in illegal aliens is an unlawful order.
Well, Joel, why do you think that they haven't yet? They haven't just said, you know what? We're not going to do that. We're not going to keep releasing people. I'm not going to hand over this child to someone that I know is not their parent, for who knows what reason. Why aren't we doing that?
Well, look, I'm not going to stand here on a high horse now that I'm retired. I understand these
Right. Same. Yes.
agents have families and they need to
Yes.
provide for them, and you understand that, yeah. And it's hard. It really is hard. But
It's insufferable.
yeah, it is. But that's why in my book I came down so hard on the leadership, because
Yes.
know better, and they're sending out these orders. And look, as a first line supervisor, we were told at Uvalde Station, my last station, we were told everybody will be processing tonight, and on my shift, on swing shift, everyone will be processing tonight. So what I just couldn't do it. So I said, look, we can still we have enough manpower. So on paper, everybody was processing, but I kept one guy out there to for local call outs. I had three guys checking trains, and my watch commander is a cool dude. I'll keep his name out of it because he's still working.
We still got a few of those.
But he supported me, and so on paper we said, but privately we had people out there working, because in our conscience we kept it clean, and we kept people out there working. So agents can do stuff. You don't have to necessarily question it, question everything they tell you, because these scumbags that are up there, that are the powers that be, the same people that are saying, yes, sir, I'm going to go cut that gate right open so people can come in, are the same people that under Trump were behind him, nodding their head, yes, yes, sir. Right. So those people care about their careers over the oath.
Well, this is what I say. So Elon Musk came out, and he's bringing a lot of attention to the situation, and he was beginning to vilify and even blame Border Patrol agents for what's going on. And I don't know if he heard me or he did what, but I tweeted him back directly and said, wait a minute, whoa here. Here's how I feel about it. Why should the agents right now give up, risk their career, their retirement, their TSP, their future, everything else, first of all, for a management and an administration that could care less for them, could give a crap whether they live or die or exist tomorrow, and a nation that more than likely is going to vote this bullshit back in the next election? Why should they sacrifice all those things for basically what I feel is either an ignorant, complacent, or ungrateful nation?
Well, that's the thing that baffles me. Is like our politicians and the powers that be. That's why I have a problem with Chief Owens coming out and publicly saying that we should pass this law. Come on, man. If they tell you to do that, if you said it without being told to do it, let's just assume. Okay. Let's assume that he did it without being pressured by the administration. Then he has the power to say, hey, let's enforce our existing laws. Those are what we need to be doing. The 1325, public charge, terrorist sympathizers. There's so many things. And you know very well that our immigration system is so stout. The current INA is so stout that even adultery is a deportable offense. So if we want to get rid of a scumbag, we're going to get rid of him.
We have everything in place already. So let me ask you this, because I just want to make the point that if a person grabs your book and is not a Border Patrol agent, they're going to sit here and their jaw's going to drop in every chapter. I mean, you talk about the journeymen you've had, and that it feels like all of us had. You talk about the supervisors you've had that I feel like all of us had, but they're going to read this and go, holy crap. This is
Yes.
what you do. This is what you experience. This is how it's been. You don't sugarcoat anything. You don't whitewash anything. I mean, sometimes I'm like, bro, you're gonna tell people. Are you really gonna tell everybody that? Come on, man. But you no holds barred. So you walk through the book. Okay. So I guess I want people to read this book. But the question is, let's just say for a moment, we're going to give Chief Owens the benefit of the doubt. Is it possible to say that he truly does not understand this bill, or or possibly doesn't know what you and I know almost immediately when we hear this? Because the assumption for you and I is the stuff that looks good, every single one of them has a major loophole, number one, and they're not going to honor it.
Yes.
So is it possible to say he maybe doesn't get it or doesn't understand? How could that be possible?
Well, if he doesn't understand, Gil, then why do we understand it? He is the leader.
Yes.
He is top of the U.S. Border Patrol. How can he not know? And then that's why I write in my book that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
We're being led by the blind. I mean, there's no vision, and we need to have vision. We need somebody like Rodney Scott, who had the honor to say, you know what, then I'm out.
Yes.
Or they're basically out, and he says, see you later, because I'm not going to carry your water. I'm not.
I'm sorry, but now think about this for a moment. So a lot of people always wonder, well, why did you go so bad on Ortiz? And I've explained it many times, but maybe if they heard someone else, maybe heard you explain, Ortiz started out, everybody liked him,
Yes.
Everybody liked him. And I was shocked that another Border Patrol agent was recommended for the job, because I figured this administration would immediately jump on a civilian or somebody some liberal douchebag that would come in and do everything that we saw happen anyway. And I spoke with Ortiz personally 4 different times, hour at a time. The first conversation was almost 2 hours. And I tried to explain to him where I felt the heart and soul and psyche of the Border Patrol was. And he would, he didn't even listen. As far as he was concerned, he was doing a good job. Everything's cool. And then he comes out. So in your mind, where did Ortiz go so wrong that it justified, someone like me coming out after him like, scorched earth?
Well, he went wrong when he betrayed the oath. He betrayed the oath, and by betraying the oath, you're betraying the laws. And by betraying the laws, you're betraying the mission, the Border Patrol mission, which is still the same. And then when you betray the mission, you betray the agents that you claim you're leading. And so he did all those things because what mattered to him is his career. Listen, he said time and time again that he stayed on because otherwise a non-green shirt would have been. And see, I put this on my book actually in detail, but then I took it out, and then I started, after it published, I said I should have kept it in there. But let me remind you, if you don't remember this, you probably do because you're in the know. But maybe agents out there listening or people listening to this podcast understand this. The first time in the career of the Border Patrol when a non-green shirt was put in there, it was a chief by the name of Morgan. He was
Mark Morgan.
Yes, a former FBI guy and all this stuff. And the agents were up in arms, and so was I. And so was I.
Me too.
Let me tell you, that guy became the biggest, and to this day is the biggest defender of Border Patrol missions. And the dude was solid, man.
Yes.
So in that case, then, Chief Ortiz, if that's your reasoning, maybe you should have left the non-green shirt. Do it. If you were going to betray us like that, then I would have rather a non-green shirt. We could always say, hey, it was a non-agent that's doing it.
Yeah.
He understands our traditions. He should know better. And that makes me mad. Me mad. That's why he's a coward, in my opinion.
Well, and it goes beyond that. But yes, Mark Morgan came in. I was pissed. When he put the uniform on, I was even more pissed.
Yes.
And you know what? I regret that now to the core of my being, because this man left and he goes, you know what? I get it. You know, he took up, but what did he do? Was he bitter? Was he angry? What did he rail against us after we left after the way we treated him? No, he freaking tripled down on taking care of us. He
Yes, that's
spoke everywhere he could speak. He went on every TV show he could, and he has, to my understanding right now, probably done more publicly for the patrol than anybody in regards to that. So I regret that. I regret not giving him his opportunity. But see, with Ortiz, the problem is, number one, he come out and say that the border's closed. Come out and say that this is not a crisis. It's just a little surge. It's irregular immigration, towing the party line for this administration. Then what knocked me over the edge once and for all with him was him screaming down those agents at RGV.
yes.
As a leader, he should have been like, you know what, guys, I get it. I can see your pain. I can see your situation. But no, all he wanted to do was scream them down and correct them. And then what's worse, Joel, he comes out in this horrific circle jerk cringe video with Mayorkas saying, can you believe those guys came out and did what they did, Chief? And he's like, yeah, I can't understand, the disrespect and everything else. So he now vilifies these guys nationwide on DHS TV. And at that point, Joel, I was like, you know what? I am going to kick this man in the balls every chance I get.
Exactly. And see, and I'm not afraid to go after him because of that, of what you just said. And not only that, I'll tell you, I guess the camel's back was already broken, but when he didn't come out publicly and vehemently defending agents after the Haitian invasion, so-called whipping incident, where was he on that? He could have come out and said, no, y'all wrong. Y'all wrong. And that's when he completely lost me. I knew that there was no coming back. He was going in the book.
Yeah, but not to mention the corruption, Joel. Between him and his girlfriend, they ruined details. They ruined people's careers, and a lot of times they did it for simply following my social media.
Yes,
there's guys right now that are getting served disciplinary papers for stuff that they posted or either liked or shared on my page 3 years ago, Joel. And in his regime, I remember one time I got a message from one person that was going on detail to DC, was packed and ready to go. And they called them and they said, oh, I'm sorry. It turns out we still have to keep the announcement open for another month and you can't come. But that was because she gotten flagged for posting on my page.
Oh, wow.
That's how vindictive this is. That's how vindictive. And I hear from agents daily. They send me photocopies of the investigation and freaking Old Patrol all over it.
Yes.
And that is the part too that, what just knocked me over the edge. But let's get back
that's why I call you the voice of reason, because, and I must say this, I would be derelict in my duty if I didn't say this, that as I've told you privately, a lot of this book was inspired by Old Patrol HQ post that you put, and that is a great lead right there, and that maybe even a whole chapter was maybe inspired by one of your posts. So you are definitely an inspiration to a lot of agents that working and retired. And I tell you what, it's just it needs to be said.
Yes. So let's get back to the book a little bit. So one of the things I also enjoyed immensely about this book is the way you broke down the argument. Right? You start us off with the Border Patrol. You walk us through. I'm a civilian. I don't know what's going on here. Academies. You got, duty stations. You dealing with individuals. You're running through the brush. You're, getting your ass kicked, but you're loving it. We I think we would end up qualifying as psychopaths in some cases because that we love that life. We, laying in the freaking mud, getting tarantulas. I remember one time I was laid in for a group and I felt a little tickle right here. And I kind of grabbed my flashlight and I kind of pushed it in there so it wouldn't flash too long. And I look at it and there's this freaking tarantula sitting on my, I swear to God, I don't know, it took to change my shorts.
Yes.
But you know what? I never, even in my worst days in the patrol, Joel, I never had a bad day. I loved going to work. When I retired, I was lost for a year.
Yes.
Lost. And then all of a sudden, what happens? I'm getting ready to, play with my grandkids. I'm getting ready to post old patrol stuff, post jokes, post history, do all the fun stuff, sell a few trinkets, right? Have a little fun. And then I'm bombarded with messages from the field. Guess what, Gil? We just closed Del Rio sector to process. There's nobody in the
Yeah.
field. Guess what,
Yeah.
Gil? We just closed Yuma sector. There's nobody out in the field. Even Chief Scott came out and said that at any given time, 80 to 90% of the entire border is unmanned and unsecured.
That's right.
And I don't think people still even understand that. And I think it's the mentality that, well, we're okay. Did you die? Anything, what happened? Nothing's happened. And I don't think they understand that the cartel owns 100% of the border, not just part of it.
Well, what angers me is the fact that our leadership is gaslighting this.
Oh,
They are continuously posting on their 26,000 apps this month. Yeah, but they don't mention that we released every one of them. Come on. And don't say that we're out despite, and then pictures. I can't stand pictures of agents holding babies. Well, of course, that's just what we do. But the thing is that they're trying to post these things just to gaslight this whole thing, and instead of saying, "Hey, we should be out there working." And
but Joel, what about the idea that they're using, a taxpayer funded, the largest social media machine in the country, DHS, CBP, ICE, all those, and the resources, we're paying people, government salaries to do what? To post hourly. We enforce Title VIII. We enforce it. We're sending everybody back. There's consequences, and it would take an act of Congress. Well, it didn't take an act of Congress. It took one senile, idiot to literally reverse the first day every policy Trump put in place.
Right.
And people keep saying, well, all of a sudden we're breaking the records. No, we've been breaking the records since day one. Every record broken since then is breaking the Biden administration record, not previous records. And those records are in the history of the entire country.
Yes. And well, have you noticed, I read quite often these CBP postings, and they say, for example, it's two illegal aliens, and it's in English, like they're going to read that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's proof that it's gaslighting the American public. Do not come. Most asylum cases are do not fit the letter of the law or whatever. I'm using my words, but they're saying do not come because you are deportable, because if you use, like, I'm afraid of gangs, which is correct. That's not a lawful, that's not a reason for political asylum. You're supposed to be sent back. And they say that, but they don't do it. And that it's just incredible to me. And the American public said, well, they're doing the best they can. What can we do? What can we do to fix this broken immigration system?
But it's used against us, right? So right now, the bat being used against me is, wait a minute, the union endorsed this bill.
Exactly.
Wait a minute, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is that almost every hour on the hour, DHS CBP posts something that says economic reasons and violence are not asylum, they're not legitimate asylum claims, and yet we have released multiple millions simply on that claim. So they are literally their own worst witness, their own worst testimony. You could take their words against them and say, wait a minute, you just said right here that they don't qualify for asylum, yet you have set them free into the country for a claim that already prima facie is not legitimate or valid to begin with.
They should be in that next flight over. Well, just the fact that they crossed illegally, Gil, just the fact that they crossed illegally, it's like somebody coming in through your window. I use this analogy all the time. It's like somebody coming in through your window and then you finding them. And they say, oh, it's because I'm afraid for my life. I'm sorry, that ain't gonna work for me.
Well, you had that discussion with Sarah Carter about the fact that in an internal memo, we have these young Border Patrol agents being told just being in the country illegally is not a deportable offense. We got to go one case by a case by case basis. We're not even doing that. We're just letting them all go free, right? But they're the ones that are telling our agents, are trying to convince our agents that this is not a criminal offense anymore. We don't even call them illegal anymore. They're migrants or
they're
all these
non-citizens.
yes, non-citizens, at least temporarily.
Yes, exactly, temporarily.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, look, under the INA, illegal alien is used. The problem that this administration has is the problem with the word illegal.
But
that's
Joel,
the problem.
There's no, how can humans be illegal, Joel?
Well,
right. And, well, when they break into your house, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they got no problem. Yeah, then they're illegal. But I just, one of the things I just loved that I read today was that Mayorkas is so proud that he's going to provide the security for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, what does that mean, Joel? Well, that means what? That they're going to allow half the seats to be taken up by people with no tickets at all that deserve to be there. And not only that, you'll get the people that paid to be there to buy all their snacks and drinks and everything and all their entertainment. So they'll provide that for the people that don't have tickets, right? So I'll tell you something. When it comes to law enforcement, I would not have Mayorkas protecting an outhouse. What I'd like to do is maybe discuss for people that, let's just say someone has just walked in from from out of nowhere, another country, and you want to get them to understand really what are we, what does this mean? What are we in right now? What is going on here? What is really going on? Like, in other words, like, okay, so this administration comes into office. It completely overturns with a stroke of a pen every policy that was keeping the border under control. And now, why are we all of us, for some reason, just allowing this influx? And then the idea that any negotiation, Joel, any negotiation that has to do with this border bill has to include 5,000 people a day. Why? Why one? Why one illegal person, much less 5,000? Yeah. Lindsey Graham's like, well, I like it back in the days where Jay Johnson said it was only 1,000. Why? Yeah. Why are we even entertaining that?
Yes. So, okay.
I guess I guess bottom line is, begin to explain to us exactly what the situation is in the way you did it from the inside out.
Okay.
Joel, let's talk about the current situation and the why, the where it's going, and what is the extent of this right now?
It's our own country fighting against itself, if that makes sense. That's why I wrote 2 chapters in the book called "The Enemy Within."
Yes,
because when you're laying up for a group and your heart is pumping and you're ready, you know who they are, and you can prepare for it, right? You have your night vision goggles, you got your flashlight, you got your weapons ready to go, you got your partners who you trust like brothers ready to, you're ready, and the enemy, where to focus, what to do, your training, all that. But what you don't expect is for one of your own to turn against you. Oh. So when this government is turning against you, and allow me to explain, because I explained this in the book, okay? In 1986, Ronald Reagan, they said, give us amnesty for 10 million illegal aliens. Give us amnesty, and we will give you employment sanctions. So Reagan, and he regretted this later in his memoirs, he mentioned that, but he went ahead and gave them amnesty. And then 10 years later, Gil, we're no longer enforcing immigration employment sanctions. But guess what we do need? We need to fix this broken immigration system. We need to reform. They use those words: reform, fix, repair.
Comprehensive immigration reform.
And so in 1996, just 10 years later, they say, look, we'll give you this term called inadmissible alien. What's that mean? Well, that means if you find one in Ohio, he will be like if he were at the border. And they, oh, great idea. Let's give amnesty to another 10 million illegals, and then we'll give us that. But now we have a such thing as called, for those people out there that don't know much about Border Patrol or our policies or immigration law, there's a term called domiciled alien. That means that if they cross through the border and they've been in the country for at least 2 weeks, you heard me right, 2 weeks. If they're in the country 2 weeks and you encounter them, they have a right to an immigration hearing. You can't just deport them and say, hey, you're inadmissible, like they promised in 1996. So that no longer exists. And now we have all these people we legalize that are voting Democrat, So 10 years later, in 2006, they tried to pass it, but this time it failed. But every time they use terms like help us fix it, help us reform it, help agents do their jobs. Does that sound familiar, Gil? Because isn't that what you're hearing now?
Yes.
And even our own chief is regurgitating those words, help us do our job. Come on, man. Does history mean anything to you? So we're our own worst enemy. And the thing that it's from within the government. And I'll tell you how far it's gotten. That as far as employment sanctions, how far we've forgotten about 1986 is that this Covenant trucking company, a Christian trucking company, got fined for asking employees a potential.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah, are you going to? They asked, are you a resident? Are you legally here? And so the Biden administration, our government, who made that law, is sued them, and they paid because they're a good Christian company. They paid because they didn't want any trouble with the government. So it was easier for them to just pay up. So that's how far they manipulate us and they destroy us from within. And so even vermin of agents that care more about their careers go in front of cameras with a big smile on their face and cut these constant wires. They cut these fences, they cut these things, and gladly letting in illegal aliens, going against our very own conscience, our own mission, because we're being told that that's the right thing to do. Yeah. And they manipulate and they make the American public think that this bill has to pass. But you know what? We talked about it in the earlier segment that we have a stout immigration system. Let's just enforce it, the law that we passed.
Well, that's the thing, right? This bill, Joel, doesn't offer us anything better. It just repackages old immigration law to make it sound good, but then it turns around and creates a loophole for every single thing, so that it's literally at this administration's discretion. And that's what I just don't understand is how can anybody in our uniform, even in the highest ranks, possibly believe that they are negotiating with good intentions or with any intention at all of security? Because think of it this way. They're telling us, if you sign this, if you pass this bill, we will begin to enforce the law to a certain extent, 5,000, and we'll shut the border down. Well, why are you holding the nation hostage? Exactly. Because you could be doing that right now. Exactly. You could be shutting that thing down right now. But now it's more like, unless you give us what we want, we're going to continue to leak this porous border out. And I have gone full barrel blazing against Brandon Judd and the Border Patrol Union coming out and supporting and defending this. And it seems like between them and even our chief right now, the conventional wisdom is, Joel, it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Well, why are we always satisfied with that kind of stuff? Remember when the union gladly sold us out on AUO? They said, well, it could have been worse. This reasoning of it could have been worse is like, this guy raped me, but he used lube. I mean, it could have been worse, right?
I say it's like if it's better than nothing. So is rape better than having no sex at all? Because ultimately, once we agree to this bill, the country is going to get raped. Now, I heard also, Joel, and I don't know if you heard this, that the union is quietly trying to negotiate for more hires and more money for the Border Patrol agents. And first of all, they're not going to get the hires because they can't even meet their goals right now for hiring right now as it is, and they won't. And they've knocked our money down from 22,000, 23,000 agents. Now we only have in the budget for 15,000, and pretty soon that's going to get knocked down because I firmly believe that this administration wants to just water down the Border Patrol to nothing but a bunch of asylum officers and processors, and really that's it.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's the thing. They a lot of that money they want to allocate it for immigration judges and asylum officers.
Yeah.
All they have to do, and this is what we're all about, right? Practical fixes. Well, the law states under INA 235 and 287, which is our authority as immigration officers or agents or deportation officers. We all have that authority to say, hey, what's your fear? Well, my fear is I'm afraid of poverty. Well, that's not good enough. You're on the next plane, son.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we should do. But you know what? They say, no, it's not, you're not allowed to do that. You have to allow an asylum officer or or immigration officer. That's why now we have these applications. We have these people backlogged all the way to 2031 because we're not allowed to enforce our authority that was given to us by law.
And when they come in 2032 or 33, or as long as they decide to push it out with their 6 kids, what do you think's going to happen then?
Now, anchor. Now they have anchors. Not only that, but now they're, according to Mayorkas' memorandum, that they're contributing members of the community. And you hear that all the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. They sold it to us in the beginning, right? They said, this influx of illegal aliens unlimited, because there's no magic number that's going to that actually satisfy the Democrats, this administration. There's no magic number that anybody could tell me, okay, once we reach this number, we're going to stop the flow. That's going to be it. We have been sold that that's going to be better for us. The diversity is going to be better for us. It makes us better people. It makes us a better country. Well, how come then all these sanctuary cities aren't screaming for more aliens to come in then? To being sent, why shouldn't, if it's so good, why aren't you screaming to get more aliens as opposed to screaming, which they're not screaming for it to stop. They just want more taxpayer money.
Well, of course, it's all about power. At the end of the day, you know it and I know it. Look, I'm not going to be so naive and I want these people that are listening to this podcast to say that these guys are so partisan. Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you right now that I blame the left because they want free votes, and I blame the right because they want cheap labor. And in the meantime, this is never getting fixed. And so that's why I put that in my book, because it's important to note that the Chamber of Commerce, why do you think they support these rhinos that want illegal immigration? Because they want to maximize their profits.
Well,
that's all it boils down to. And the left, let's face it, they know that these guys are going to come. They're going to keep them on welfare, so they will always vote for a Democrat.
Absolutely.
It's all about power, whether it's money, making bankroll. I mean, making bank, or power, political power. It's power.
But the funny thing is, Joel, look, so for the Democrat side of it, this is my theory on this. Glut the country with illegal aliens that don't care about America, don't care about being Americans, don't care about the culture, our society, nothing. Grant them all amnesty, hopefully before next November. Get them all registered to vote, and then keep power eternally, because from this point on, right? And then once the last time that the census hit, there was 6 states in this country that had to adjust their electoral college in favor of the Democrats because of the number of heads, because the census doesn't count, it counts heads. It doesn't count citizens.
Right.
Now what's going to happen when these, honestly, my number is upward in the 50 million by the time this administration's over. When the next census counts heads, how many states are going to end up changing their whole electoral college and the whole thing to accommodate this? The second point is Republicans, the conventional wisdom is Republicans want cheap labor, right? Big business, cheap labor. But you know what? That labor is not so cheap anymore, is it? So what are they really now at this point? What are they really fighting for?
Well, that's a good point. Well, let me tell you something. I did make those points, but let me tell you how it's backfiring. First of all, 1986, let's go back to when Reagan brought in all these people. At least in Texas, that's a proven fact. In Texas, the grand majority of those who have become U.S. citizens with time are voting Republican because they realize that, hey, I work hard, I can take a part of the American dream and make myself better. And look at all these aliens wanting free stuff. They're the ones affected by it.
Yes.
So, and not only that, but they're devout Christians. They care about, they don't care about transgenderism. They don't care about those kind of things.
Yeah.
Hispanics are like that. So that backfired on them. Look how it backfired on them. Look how Trump won Florida because the Venezuelans and the Cubans who are Latino, and they voted for who? For Republicans because they escaped socialism. So in that regard, it backfired on Democrats. Let me tell you how it backfires on Republicans. These money grubbing contractors that are paying these lobbyists that are saying, hey, bring in more illegals because they want to make a lot of money, right? So they come in and guess what? After a while, since there's no restrictions and no immigration enforcement in the interior, these illegal aliens are now buying trucks. And guess what? They're now hiring illegal aliens. So I wrote this in my book that illegal aliens, a band of illegal aliens, 7 of them will always outbid a greedy contractor trying to make a profit. Yeah. And now they're saying, wait a minute, shouldn't we? Hey, let's get rid of some of these illegal aliens. You see how it's backfiring on both sides? So illegal immigration is not good at all. Now, I'm for immigration legally because I'm working for my brother right now, and we bring in H-2A visa holder. And I'll tell you, they work hard and they pay into the system. They pay we pay Social Security. We have to have workman's comp, and we have to do a rigorous background check on them. Yeah. All that stuff, and it costs money. But me and my brother have a hard time when these illegal aliens are outbidding us.
Well, that's the thing, right? So every one of these people coming in from these other countries in their own environment, left to themselves, would be conservative Republican voters, probably.
No doubt.
No doubt. But here's the thing, though, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit, and then I want to ask you one more question about your book, so we can for this particular session, right? Okay. Because this is just the first of many, my friend, that we're gonna discuss. But I make the claim in my social media that illegal immigration now has become one of the most lucrative cottage industries in America, with primarily politicians, retired CBP, DHS, ICE, HSI, federal employees now making millions of dollars in taxpayer money funded contracts to NGOs, which in turn they sit as trustees in their boards, making those, trustee paychecks and getting paid millions. And even people that you and I know personally that are now contracted with the federal government in millions of dollars to feed, clothe, house, transport, medical, security, you name it. Because now I believe that illegal immigration, in fact, one day it'll probably be on the NASDAQ.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're right. There's a lot of people that these people say, hey, let's hire them because they're subject matter experts and they have connections with people still working, and they can ensure that they funnel the illegal aliens over to us over here at the Pecos facility so we can get more of these unaccompanied juvies over here. I'm glad that you're on our board as a consultant, know. And think about that. That is wrong. That is treason also. But and think about this, Gil. Think about all the NGOs. You mentioned it many times on your posts, and that is just
NGO cartels,
taxpayer funded smuggling.
Yes.
America has ever known. And you know what a lot of people don't want to talk about is how all this recklessness and greediness, there's been a lot of victims that nobody talks about. And I mentioned that in my book. It was hard to write, and it's hard to talk about, but it's like these children that are being raped, and women, 1 out of 3 women that make this journey, 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3, something like that, that make this journey are being raped. And these liberals that are that care so much about the poor migrants' plight don't talk about that.
No,
They
they
don't.
could care less.
And you know, nobody cares about these young Honduran boys being raped, and because it's not their children. So let's be honest about it, man. Let's talk about these things, and we have to. It's got to. Until these elitists start clutching their pearls, is when something will get done about it.
Well, here's the thing, Joel. Here's the thing: is that if I say to you, the United States federal government is the biggest facilitator of child pornography, child trafficking, adult sex rings, children, men, women, and children being just completely, raped daily, 5-6 times a day throughout this country, because America is the biggest consumer. What do you say to that? Am I off base?
That's the enemy within, man.
That's the sad part of it. And see, that's why, listen, I talked to an agent out of a particular sector, and he was so distraught. He was ready to quit because he had interviewed this guy with his girlfriend, and apparently he had given his girlfriend over to the cartel for 2 weeks to be gang raped the entire time to pay for their trip in. And even once they're in, see, the Democrats, they think the first thing they say is, Americans are not enjoying the American dream. We have minorities that are not enjoying the American dream, but somehow they want us to believe that the moment that the alien crosses the border and goes into the country, which they don't care where they end up. After once they get past us, liberal Democrats, they don't care where they end up, but they end up in the most horrid slave rings and everything else you can imagine. They don't care where they end up, and it's like, when are you gonna? I don't even. I'm so angry. I forgot where I was going with this, but it's like they don't care where they end up, and they're still paying. They're still paying cartels. They're still paying back debts that they're trying to incur. But once they make it past us, Joe, they don't care where they end up, as long as they vote Democrat.
Just a lot of these customers that come in here, my brother's business, some are like illegal aliens, and I'll just start visiting with them and say, so where do you live? And you go, oh, I live over here. I live with 10 other guys in one apartment. Is that part of the American dream? Is that what did you have in Honduras? I have a little ranchito. I have a few little cows and this and that. I have about 20 acres. I said, dude, you were rich. You were rich. Look how you're living now, man. Come on, man. The American dream is Soros or whoever's doing this is selling these people. They're coming up here and suffering, and they're living like dogs. And they really need to look into it, man.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel that let's go beyond here, beyond this administration. Do you feel that the strings to this entire thing is being pulled even farther up the chain?
Oh, well, no doubt.
I'm talking about UN. I'm talking about, Soros. Yeah, that's a given. I'm talking about new UN, and I'm talking about new world order stuff. Is that too conspiratorial?
No, I know that to be true, because look, we all know about a uniparty here, right? Trump, like him, love him or hate him, the dude exposed the uniparty. And we realize how many people were like in the same bed. I mean, and they were supposedly the opposite parties. But look at our asylum rules right now. We are following by the UN rules instead of our U.S. immigration laws. For example, we're letting people in because of the only reason we should be letting people in is for political asylum reasons, right? Legitimate ones.
Legitimate.
fact that we're letting them in because they're afraid of their homosexuality or this and that, those are all UN rules. Those are all like big. Now I understand somebody coming in from Saudi Arabia and saying they're gay and they're afraid for their life.
Yeah.
But coming in from Guatemala, I mean, come on, they're not going to be treated any different here, you know. I mean, so it is. It's bigger. Yeah, I do believe we're looking into a one world order type thing where we're all one race, one people, one and you know but people have there's a reason why there are countries and borders and things like that, because people have traditions, people have their religion, they have their faith, and like it or not, this country was based on Judeo-Christian values, and
undeniably.
You may go to Dearborn, Michigan, and they'll think differently nowadays. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know, and that's the thing. So, like, I've had conversations with the people that believe that most of America still belongs to Mexico, and I tell them, I said, you know what, this whole argument doesn't work unless America owns that land, because the moment that Mexico takes over, it becomes Mexico, and now they're jumping that border.
Yes.
You know, I mean, so come on, right? It doesn't work unless America controls it, unless America runs it. And let's take a few final moments and talk about your book. Why? I know why. And I've tell a lot of people why I read this book. I read it because a fellow brother in green wrote it. And then when I opened it up, even I, as a Border Patrol agent, got an education. You walked me through a lot of my career, I experienced a lot of the same stuff you did. You distinguished yourself, Joel, in your career in many different ways. And you did a great job in the things that you do, and you took care of your people the best you could. You took the best lessons that your journeyman taught, and you took them to yourself, and you implemented and made them better. And you took the ugly stuff and you learned from it, but you decided, I'm not going to be that guy, right? Which is what's lacking, I think, a lot in our current Border Patrol. One of the points you made that I really love was the fact that the elimination of the senior patrol agent was one of the beginning of the end for our Border Patrol culture, because we don't have that nexus, right, between management and the ground and the rank and file to keep us together, to connect us, to keep the traditions alive, to keep all those things going. So tell us what you hope people will gain by buying and reading your book.
Well, you said a lot of it, but the main thing I want people to understand is that, look, when you walk in this case, my shoes, this journey will become your journey. And you're going to understand the heartache, the sacrifice, the traditions, the love for this outfit that I have. You will understand it. And by the time you get to the latter chapters of when it gets into the politics, you will start to get angry. And the reason why is because you've been through it. That was my whole purpose of writing this, is for you to understand how hard it is and how much I would do it again. I would do it again. But the way the enemy within, the leadership, the Mayorkas effect of these things have played out, you will feel angry, because by the end of this, you will understand. I didn't want this to be just a boring book about politics, because only people like me and Gil here will love it because we're political junkies. But you, as who are engaged, you people out there who are engaged in politics and want to learn a little more, you will learn a little bit about the excitement of the Border Patrol. You will learn about the history of it. You will learn about the traditions. You will learn about scary things. And you will laugh and you will cry, but in the end you will be angry, because you're going to want to say, what can I do about it? And if you read this book, you won't be one of these idiots out there saying this bill needs to be passed. You will understand that great people before us knew, that these laws needed to exist so we can have a good stout. Every country Every sovereign country has a right to protect its borders. There's not a
Yes.
home in the world where you won't open the door and decide who comes in through your door. You especially take care of who comes in through the window. Why is our country any different? That's what I want you to take away from this book. And I just, it meant a lot to me. It's really, my heart and soul went into it, and I hope people enjoy it.
Absolutely. And I have no doubt that they will. Now, is it doing pretty well?
Yes, it is. It debuted at #1, of course, but then it's just stayed in the top 10, and it's checked before we came on. It was at #6, and so my daughter recently told me, said, "Dad, how did you know that?" Because right now, that's the hot thing in the news is this guy, Mayor. I said, I didn't. He's just an idiot who I decided to write about, and he just happens to get worse and worse. He's the gift that keeps on giving, but we just can't get rid of him. And people need to know that this Mayorkas guy is man. He's a master manipulator. He's the greatest foot soldier for the left. He wants to form America, and he is doing an outstanding job. I'll give credit where credit is due.
You got to give him credit, Joel, because he has managed to literally brainwash and manipulate some of our best and brightest in the patrol into believing he's the good guy.
Yeah,
that he's a victim of this administration, just like the rest of us are, the union, and sadly, maybe even our own chief at this point. I'll tell you that I'd rather blaspheme the Pope and risk hell than to have blasphemed my own chief. You know, and going against Ortiz was after a while, it became an act of conscience and an act of, needed to be done. I don't want to do that again. Chief Owens to this point has been the chief that the Border Patrol needs right now.
Yeah.
Right. He's respected. He's an agent's agent. He's an agent's chief. He is loved from the top down and the bottom up. And I don't know what to make of this quite yet. I want to talk to him about it, but I
hope what we're thinking is wrong, because Chief, if you're listening to this by any chance, man, we're counting on you, man, to stand by the oath and buck up to this, because we know you as a good man, and don't go in the way of your predecessor.
Well, I can guarantee you that he's going to listen to this. Okay.
Well,
so
I've met him in person, and I know for a fact that he's a good man, and he means well and wants to do well. And I can't imagine the pressures he's under.
Yes, of course.
But I know he's done the right thing before and suffered consequences for it. And I hope he'll come through for us.
Well, Joel, we need that chief now more than ever. More than ever, to hold us together until whatever happens this next election. After this next election, where it's either going to go no holds barred one way or the other. But we definitely we need him to keep us together and to keep the spirit and the morale of the patrol as tightly as possible. It's decimated. It's this last chief destroyed it. So we do need that. So I know he's gonna hear this podcast, and I hope to have a conversation about this whole thing with him sometime soon. But Joel, we're gonna leave it that way for now, because I could do this for another 3 hours with you. I hope you come back. I did want to ask you, when's your Tucker interview?
That's another thing I told my daughter. I said, I just need the one big break, but it's right here with you, my man.
No. Yeah. This is you're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, my friend. But I appreciate your words and your inspiration. And if I did anything to inspire any part of this book, then I am grateful to God for that, because you did a magnificent job with this book. You really did. And I am grateful to you for this work. And it's going to stand the test of time, and people will read this and realize just how right and how on point you were and are in everything you have put in this book.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And Gil, that's the fact that you inspired a lot of it, and you got me fired up and made me angry, and I started writing, and shoot, I could talk to you forever as well. So I feel like I'm sinning because I'm enjoying this so much.
Well, I'll tell you one thing though. You really, really, I mean, you got my blood pressure up today. And you sit there and post that you hope I don't go woke, or I don't know what it was, whatever. And I'm like,
I was instigating you, trying to get you fired up.
Like, you need to get me fired up, bro. How much more do you need, man? I had to go take a hike to get to calm myself down for you, because my gosh, you're like, politically correct, Gil. My gosh, but that's
the furthest from you. That's not who you are, man.
Hey, that's what we do in the Border Patrol, right? That's always that, brotherly love, that brotherly friction, that if you're not being harassed or messed around by your friends, your buddies, they don't love you. You're not loved.
Right. Then that's what agents need to know. Even the new patrol, man. Yeah. Hey, don't take it to heart, brothers.
Yeah, don't take it to heart.
We wouldn't give you a hard time. It's like, you don't have to file on us.
Yes. Amen. All right, brother. Well, God bless and Godspeed. And let's get back to this thing as soon as possible.
You got it, man.
All right. Take care.
All right.